Let's see what happens. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm really, I'm really sorry for the face to face. I really would rather. I would really, um, not have them just sitting because I don't want people to leave. Yes, I'm really sorry for the difficulty with our transmission. All right. I don't know how to communicate with them to let them know. Let them know we're not able to get it up. I cannot. We're just gonna have to. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and go live, and I cannot get the video going, so I'm going to start our program with the audio. Can everyone hear me? Can anyone hear me? Well, I'm going to go ahead. I'd like to say hello to all of you that are here. Hello, Renee and Lisa, and thank you all for coming. I would just like to say that today what we're going to be talking about is I want to give you 10 tips about how to beat this super virus. Everyone's talking about what's going on, and it changes from day to day. And I just thought that I'd like to share with you. Let me tell you a little bit about who I am. Some of you know me, some of you don't. Some call me Amelia Rochelle. Some call me Nurse. And it really doesn't matter to me which of those names you call me. I just want you to know that I'm a nurse practitioner. I've been a nurse for over 25 years, and I do holistic health. And I've practiced in many areas of nursing. And the one thing that I've done that I enjoy the most is I enjoy holistic care. I believe it's the closest to all that we have ever been taught, or the basis of who we are as a people. It brings us the closest to that way of life. So why are we here? We're here, we're going to be talking, like I said, about 10 ways or 10 tips to help you fight this virus. So the coronavirus, you've heard so many different things about it. Let's talk a little bit about what it is. What is the coronavirus? And is it new? Well, if you use Lysol or any of those type of products, you know it's not new because it's written on the side of the can, of the container. So coronavirus is not a new virus, but the coronavirus is not an individual virus. It's a family of viruses. And it is a very large family of hundreds of viruses. But there are 7 known viruses that affect humans. 4 of them generally cause a mild to moderate illness in humans. These viruses all reportedly have come from animals. 3 of the 7 are the ones you probably know most about, or you've heard about the most. And they are 1, SARS. These 3 that I'm going to mention are generally the most fatal of all of them. And the first one is SARS. SARS corona stands for SARS is the one that we call acute respiratory syndrome, right? And it started in November of 2002 and it probably ran through 2004. And then we have MERS, which is the Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, or it's called MERS-CoV, and it's believed to have been transmitted from something to do with camels. That virus still comes and goes in the Middle East. Now the third one, which we call novel, which is the coronavirus we currently know as COVID 2019. This virus is called novel because that's novel, it's new as in new. The virus can range from, the coronaviruses can range from the common cold all the way up to Ebola. We know influenza is a virus, all right, and so there's tons and tons of viruses. But right now we're dealing with this new virus called COVID-19. So now that we know a little bit about viruses and that they threaten us, what can we do to fight back? Is there anything that we can actually do to fight back? All right, one of the first things I want to talk about, and it is the basis of our real true defense, and it is our immunity system. Now, you keep hearing about that. Everyone talks about the immunity system. Well, the immunity system, we all have one from birth, even though in infancy, that immunity is very weak. And so what you learn by that is, as you see a baby, they have immunity system, but it's weak. It teaches us that we can build our immunity system. You know, new moms are taught or encouraged to nurse their infants because we can pass that immunity to them to strengthen them. And the immunity system, its goal and objective is to protect us from invaders and the things that we're exposed to that can be injurious or dangerous to us. It's a survival mechanism. In the immune system, I know you hear about, we have our cardiovascular system, and then we have our immune system. All right, you know, when you talk about your arms and you're growing those little lumps we feel and stuff, that's all a part of your lymphatics, which is your immune system. There are two types of cell, well, many types of cell, but two particular types of cell in your immune system that help with your defense. One is what we call an NK, a natural killer cell. The natural killer cells interfere with virus replication. And then you have the killer T lymphocytic cells. These cells release a chemical that breaks through the virus protein's outer lining and then can kill the virus. Both of these cells, NK and the T lymphocytes, they both also help to kill viruses as well as cancer cells. So it's a really, really important type of cell. So when we're talking about things that can do, the natural defense is the very first thing we want to focus on or try to build in order to fight against the virus. You know, we've heard it a million times. Point two, I say cleanliness. All right. They emphasize hand washing, but it's broader than hand washing. So we've heard repeatedly about washing your hands, and people come up with different means to help you remember, how long do I wash my hands? Not like the children do when they go in the bathroom and you hear the water run real fast and they come out and their hands are dry. Yeah, not that kind of washing. We're talking about a real good washing. It's recommended, some say 20, some say 30 seconds that you should wash. As a nurse, I would think more like, you know what? You need to wash not only in time, but in thoroughness. You want to wash from your fingertips back, your hands between your fingers, wash around your cuticles and, under your nails and things, back to your wrist. You know, if you've ever seen a doctor that was going into surgery, the way that they wash their hands, fingertips, and they're scrubbing all the way back, and they let everything drip toward the elbow. All right. So I would recommend you don't have to do a surgical scrub, but do a good thorough scrub. That's about 30 seconds. Another thing you have to remember when you're washing, you go in the bathroom, you assume everything's dirty, or you go wherever you're washing and you assume everything's dirty, right? But when you finish, you go to turn the water off. Don't touch the spigot and the handles with your clean hands. Grab a paper towel or whatever you're using to dry. Dry that. Turn the water off with that after you've dried your hands, and then throw in the garbage. As we're thinking about cleanliness, not only in hand cleaning, but we have to be mindful. How many of us and how many times have I been out with my gloves on and with my mask on, and then I go out and I see people and they're touching everything with their gloves that they're assuming is dirty, and then they take their cell phone in their gloved hand and use their phone to their face. That is a no-no. So because we touch our phones and they're exposed to things that we're touching, we really should clean our cell phones a couple times a day. If you're be mindful to wipe down your cell phone, you may not be able to spray it You can use your hand sanitizer and put it on something, but wipe your cell phone down several times a day. Something else that you can do is, of course, we all know about avoid touching our face. If your cell phone is dirty, then you put it to your face to listen again. You're making that contact. You want to also make sure that you remember to, as you're cleaning your surfaces, when you clean surfaces, do not wipe them off. Don't dry them, because if there is viral exposure there, you're smearing it from one spot to the other. Just spray your surfaces and let them sit and dry. Whatever you spray on them will kill the virus. Now, we talk about using hand sanitizer. Those who have access to it, it's already pre-made, so it has a certain alcohol content in it. The hand sanitizer is not a substitute for hand washing. You use it as a backup, not first line. Okay, so use your hand sanitizer when you cannot. It is still best and cheapest to wash your hands in warm or hot soapy water. That's still the best option. One of the things I've learned that you can use also in cleansing, and it might not be as easy to get, but it is another option, effective option actually, is iodine spray. Iodine can come in a liquid. You've heard of iodine. You think about salt, and you've heard of iodine, and you think about the thyroid. But you can get iodine and use it as a topical surface spray, because iodine also kills the virus on contact. One of the other ways is to use Lysol on your surfaces. But like I said, do not wipe them dry. Remember also, where some of the other places that we tend to forget about, besides our cell phones, we should also be cleaning our computers, wipe our computers down, our laptops and things, clean off our keyboards a couple times a day, especially if you've gone out and come back in, try to wipe them off again. So the third point I would like to talk about in being able to fight against the super virus is, how do we eat? How does our immune system affect how does our food affect the immune system? I have a book that it teaches you how to cook vegetarian or plant-based diet, but the book is called Eat for Strength. And so I would say that eat for strength for our immune systems. You need to eat a diet that is good for fighting viruses. And you say, is there such a thing? Well, yes, there is. One of the studies reflect and show that vegetarian diets actually increase that NK, those natural killer cells in the immune system, versus an omnivorous diet. Okay, so vegetarian versus omnivore give you a boost in your immune system. But they also found that a fully plant-based diet gives an even better result for you, even than the vegetarian diet. Why is it important, or why would you want to eat besides the immunity boost? One of the reasons that you want to eat plant-based is because they found that eating plant-based, vegetarian or fully plant-based, decreases inflammation. Well, what does inflammation have to do with COVID? If you understand or have heard, part of what happens, the part that seems to kill people, is what happens in the lungs. The lungs go into this state of severe inflammation. That's what pneumonias are, a type of inflammation and a buildup of fluid. And so we want to do everything that we can to decrease the risk of added inflammation on the system. One of the things they found is that high fiber also blocks some of the damaging immune reactions in the lungs. The high fiber increases antiviral activity. How do we get high fiber? Well, when we eat vegetables, fruit, and things like those are natural sources of fiber. Okay, cabbage, or those things like that. Bulky vegetables and fruit are high fiber. That high fiber, like I said, it increases the antiviral activity by, guess what? Activating the killer T cells. So what it does, eating fiber also helps to flip the cells that behave in an inflammatory manner to an anti-inflammatory manner. This helps with healing. What are some of the things that you can eat specifically? You can eat apples and oats and beans, greens and cruciferous vegetables. Those are especially good for boosting immunity. Um, One of the things we don't talk about a lot is how does our food affect the gut? The gut is a part of the immune system in some of the things that it does, right? Um, Garlic is an excellent, excellent food. Is an excellent food for this. Who is this? Lisa, I am so sorry you can't hear me well. Um, guys, I'm going to keep going. Hopefully this will get better. Um, some of the garlic is an excellent food for the immune system. It also activates the killer T cells and helps to inhibit inflammation. One of the other things we've been told in caring for ourselves for the COVID is to try to limit our fat. It's recommended that you only have like 22 to 25% fat a day. The fourth thing I would recommend for immune building is your be aware of the diet, the things that you make mistakes with, try to correct them. People think that because they're vegetarian, they can eat whatever they want that's plant-based. Oreos are fully vegan, but they are not something that we should eat because of what they're made of and what they can do to the immune system. One of the things I'd recommend is we're looking at the diet is making sure you get adequate vitamins like vitamin A, B12, C, D3, E, and folic acid. These are all important and good for the immune system. Well, what should you eat? You can eat things like chia seeds, flax seeds, walnuts, leafy greens that give you omega-3, and nutritional yeast, which is has a source of B12. All right, and if you're eating plant-based, then you're going to have plant-based milks. They have to be fortified with the additional nutrients. One of the really, 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 the vitamins I mentioned are all important, but one of the really crucial vitamins is vitamin D. Vitamin D is critical for the killer T lymphocytes to be able to react and fight off infections in the body. I'll repeat that. D is critical for the killer T lymphocytes to do what they do. If you don't have enough D in your system, your T lymphocytes will remain dormant. They won't kick in and they won't do what they're supposed to do. Your body produces a natural antibiotic like compound in the white blood cells. Vitamin D helps activate that feature in the white blood cell. Okay. You know what? I will try to put what I'm saying. I'll post it. I'll post what I've written so that you all can have the verbiage to this. All right. The other thing is to avoid deficiencies. Can you all hold on? Is to avoid deficiencies. You want to make sure you have C, D, A, and B12. All right, those are absolutely necessary for optimal immune efficiency. Vitamin E from nuts and seeds and folic acid from greens and oranges help to slow down the aging of the immune system. Tip number 6 is drinking pure water. I know that there's no visual. We couldn't get the camera up and going. So I just hope that you all bear with me. I'm trying to go through this without the visual. Drink pure water. One of the things we know about viruses, period, not just COVID, is like the flu virus and things like that, how they enter the system, they enter through the mucous membranes. When we are well hydrated, those membranes are thicker. They have like a slight line, mucousy lining. That lining is for protection. And so when we are dehydrated, the virus can penetrate more easily because that layer is thinner. So drinking pure water also helps in the respiratory. There is a what do you call, there is like antibodies that live in the respiratory system, and when it is dry or dehydrated, it does not do what its job is supposed to be. So drinking and hydrating also helps to make sure that that activity in the mucosa lining works. Trace elements. The next thing that will be point 7 is trace elements. We want to make sure that you get enough trace elements. What are the trace elements? Trace elements are the elements, the nutrients that we need that are in minuscule amounts. All right, you only need a very small amount of them. And the two that would be appropriate for the rest, for the immune system in dealing with COVID, are selenium and zinc. Selenium, we know, also helps the natural killer cells to proliferate and increases their virus fighting activity. So getting adequate selenium is really important. Where do you get selenium? Brazil nuts is one of the places you can get them. You can get from cashews, from oats, from brown rice, lentils, spinach. They all provide good amounts of this trace mineral. Did you know that one single Brazil nut has more than the daily requirement for selenium? One nut. Okay, and zinc is the other trace mineral. Now, I know you've probably heard a lot about zinc because it's everywhere. We're always talking about zinc. One of the things we found that zinc, again, the virus comes in contact with zinc and it kills it. So you've heard people recommend doing the zinc lozenges, the zinc elderberry lozenges. They're hard to find. But what I've heard said, if you've been out and you're in public and around other people, and if you think that you have had any exposure in breathing, that you can pop a zinc lozenge and just suck on it, and whatever's in the throat, that will kill it. One of the things I've learned to do also was, this is not one of the trace minerals, but I didn't mention this when I mentioned the iodide, was that you can take iodine in a diluted form. And if you have a little mister, you've been out, not only can you spray it on contacts, on surfaces, but you can spray it on your own face after you've been out. It will, and just let it dry, do a little misty spray. And it will also kill the virus and bacteria. Like I said, zinc, back to zinc, it's a trace mineral, it's an antioxidant, and it's actually essential